not alone. This is the resistance.
What's up, everyone? This is YouTuber Resistance 2058. If you're watching this, you are the resistance. And as promised, I am officially launching my wrestling interviews. I interviewed a few guys within the world of professional wrestling in regards to the Glenn Beck and Alex Jones Tea Party issue with WWE and wrestler Jack Swagger. And for those of you who don't know what that's all about, just go ahead and Google that or YouTube it or whatever you want to do. Just type in WWE versus Glenn Beck or Jack Swagger versus Glenn Beck or versus the Tea Party or whatever. It's there. It's real easy to find. But basically what I'm doing here is I have sat down with not only professional wrestlers, but just varying people within the wrestling business and got their thoughts and opinions on this matter. And it turned out way better than I thought it would, and I'm just totally stoked with how it turned out. And I'm going to be posting a video each week for the month of March, so every Monday I'll have a new interview. But keep in mind, that's not gonna deter from me making other videos in regards to other relevant topics. This is just kind of a little set project I'm doing, but will not hinder anything else. But today's interview is with my good buddy Wade Needham from ringscoops.com. So let's go ahead and jump on over to that footage right now. What's up, everyone? I am here today with my good buddy from ringscoops.com, Wade Needham, and he also doubles as a commentator for the Empire Wrestling Federation. Now, as far as indie level guys go and fans and whatnot, this here is the go-to guy. He is like an encyclopedia of professional wrestling. And with this whole Jack Swagger versus Glenn Beck and the whole activist community, I think this guy would definitely be a key interview, not only from a wrestling perspective, but also a fan's perspective as to what to say on this matter. And Wade, thank you again for joining us today, man.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Well, let's go ahead and knock this out. What do you think about Jack Swagger's new gimmick overall?
I think it's very controversial. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Is the character is very controversial, but it's not a character that is brand new. There've been characters like this in the past. In the past 50, 60 years, I mean, there's so many that I can't even count all of them, but like a lot of the key ones, back in the 80s, you had Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, in the early 90s, you had Sergeant Slaughter playing a turncoat with the, being a sympathizer for the Iraqi people and whatnot during the whole Gulf War. So, I mean, it's nothing new. It's just part of the business.
Well, many activists feel that Vince McMahon is using this whole thing to attack people like Glenn Beck, Alex Jones, and even the activist community, such as even specifically the Tea Party with Jack Swagger using the Tea Party's flag. Do you feel these claims have any validity to them?
In regards to if it's a political agenda of the McMahon family because of their political affiliation against others, I don't know that. You don't know that. No one else knows that except for the McMahons themselves and the people that are coming up with the writing for this. Now, are they attacking Tea Party or Alex Jones or any of those kind of guys? I've never heard them once say Tea Party in this whole thing. They mention in commentary Alex Jones' name, they mention Rush Limbaugh's name, they mention Glenn Beck's name. However, as a commentator, I can tell you this: the reason why they mentioned them is not because of something like they wanted to personally attack those kind of people, but from a commentator standpoint, my belief is they threw those out there because a commentator's job is supposed to tell the story. Commentator's job is supposed to throw in those little tiny details and just come up with anything. There's many times in commentary that, to get a guy over, I've had to say certain terms or put things over to get that story across. I think that's what it was. So for Jerry Lawler to mention guys like Glenn Beck, Alex Jones, and Rush Limbaugh in that commentary statement where he said that Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter received emails from them, I think he was just doing his job. There was no harm, there was no, foul play intended. It was just him doing his job.
That's a good point. That kind of jumps me ahead here to one of my other questions. There's some rumors as to whether or not this whole gimmick and the mentioning of Glenn Beck and Alex Jones and all these other individuals is just a publicity stunt and a ploy to boost ratings and advertising. What do you think about that?
In the WWE and in professional wrestling in general, anything that you see on screen, I wouldn't use the phrase marketing ploy, but in the business, your product is what you see on the screen. So obviously what you're putting out there is going to be marketing because that's your product. Regardless if it's controversial or not, it's going to be what you're selling to people.
So do you think that maybe WWE is actually maybe sponsoring these individuals, or maybe these individuals are sponsoring WWE in order to get their names out there?
Not necessarily, because I think it also goes back to the early 90s when you had the whole Sergeant Slaughter being part of the Iraqi things. Obviously, the WWF at the time, they were not agreeing with, what was going on with Saddam Hussein and the Iraqi war and whatnot. They told the story. Eventually, there's going to be an end to the story with the whole Jack Swagger thing. And it's going to be a guy like Alberto Del Rio, who's living the American dream, who comes from outside the United States, comes in. We haven't seen the end of the story yet. It could be where he gets the big win, the big one-up over a guy like Jack Swagger and Zeb Coulter, and makes one of them see the ways of error.
Well, Glenn Beck stated that wrestling fans are stupid. As a former wrestling fan yourself, and now even working in the industry and even having interaction with the fans.
I got to cut you off there. You said former wrestling fan. I am not a former wrestling fan. I will always be a wrestling fan. In this business, we are all fans. No matter what.
Well, I stand corrected. What I mean is, going from a fan to actually working in the business. I should have better worded that. But, being that that's the case, and Glenn Beck stated that wrestling fans are stupid, and, even when it's hard to say the WWE fans, but, I guess you can generalize it to all wrestling fans in general, whether it be indie, WWE, TNA, or whatever. What's your opinions on Glenn Beck's statement?
I don't know if he actually meant the fans. I don't know if he meant the writers. I don't know if he meant the guys up in the corporate office at the WWE, because his exact quote was stupid wrestling people. He didn't say fans. He didn't say wrestlers. He said stupid wrestling people. So I'm going to gather that into, as a whole, the entire community. If anybody's attacking anybody, I think he kind of threw the first shot because he actually threw an insult out there by using the word stupid.
Do you feel that most, if not all, of the fans can separate fictional storylines from reality?
Unfortunately, no. I don't think all the fans can do that, and I don't think a lot of the outsiders can do that either. Some people on the outside watching that, they tune in every once in a great while and they see something. Obviously, they're not going to know the dynamics of how this thing works. They're going to get kind of confused by it.
Yeah, but you don't think that for the most part that the fans can see, okay, this is just a gimmick, this has nothing to do with the actual Tea Party or any of these individuals, this is not how they really are?
No, I don't think so. No, because a dynamic in the world of professional wrestling make things, when you look at the stats from the past, things that sold the best, things that were, ratings were up, the overall business in professional wrestling was up. And when characters get over with the fans more than anything is when you take something that people can either relate to or something that is kind of like the real person and amp it up a little bit. Or as far as stories go, you take something like a real life situation, you throw it in there, people can relate to it and they're going to want to watch. In the late 90s, they had Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon angle. Who in the world would like to punch their boss? Raise your hand if you want to punch your boss. Stone Cold did that every week. Stone Cold did that every week, right? Okay, so now there's people out there in the political world, you know, that doing the Jack Swagger thing. Sure, there's people out there that can relate to that, but there's also people that can relate to the other side of things. I'll put it Del Rio. There's people that have come into this country. They are living the American dream, right? They want to see him get that one up, right? And if they see him get that one up and he overcomes the power, you know, and the animosity that guys like Seth Coulter and Jack Swagger have, it's going to make them like a hero and somebody that somebody believe in, right?
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Is there anything else that you want to add to this? You know, your personal thoughts and opinions on just the overall situation?
Well, just to make sure that people watching don't think that I'm just one-sided here, what I find funny on the WWE's part, because they could have easily dropped this thing, but they didn't, is they went to Glenn Beck's studio trying to get a comment from him in a way that made them look like bullies. However, they got an anti-bullying campaign called Be a Star that didn't really kind of agree with what their campaign is by them trying to jump over to Alex, or not Alex Jones. So Alex Jones only made one comment and he left. Rush Limbaugh didn't make anything out of this whole thing. It's really Glenn Beck on this thing right now.
Yeah.
But what they did was they tried to go to Glenn Beck Studios. They tried to get comments. They knew he wasn't going to be there. It was public knowledge he was not going to be at the studios that night. He was going to be at a different convention doing something. So what did the WWE do? They went over there. They tried to get comments. They said he wasn't there. Then they wrote a press release and sent it out saying that they knew he was there, but they told the WWE he wasn't going to be there because he was afraid of them. I don't agree with that. To me, that's kind of bullying. So I think the whole thing just needs to be dropped between the two. He said his piece. They went and did their thing. It's done and over with. Let it run out, you know.
I appreciate your thoughts on this, man. And again, thank you for coming on here and sharing your thoughts and opinions with us.
Thanks for having me on here.
I appreciate it, man. And for those of you watching, we've got more interviews to come, so stay tuned.